Hi everybody, Smaug the DM here, and today, I figured I would teach you guys how to get your character started for D&D Earth, if any of you are still interested. Um, Now, I could do this in any way. We could start with the character sheet and obviously looking through the handbook, but most of you, since there are still 4 slots available, we could also start with the form that you're supposed to fill out as well, which I'll just briefly go through it really quickly. I mean, it's very simple, and obviously you can see there's 2 players that have already joined, so there are still 4 slots left um, to go. So if you guys are still interested in joining the live game, then I encourage you to um, get the form done if you can first. But then I'll quickly go through the character sheet, and I also have one printed out here because there's some things in the document itself that you have to handwrite out. Um, so again, very simple. Have you played any version of D&D before? If you have, which edition is it? Um, since obviously this is gonna be a live game, I'll shout out your YouTube channel, the name of the channel. Um, Obviously, you're gonna have to have your voice out, and we are going to be using Discord Audience or something like that. I can't remember the exact name for it, but like the Discord stages for playing D&D Earth Live, and I've figured that out. The Discord name, so obviously you could be joining into the server, so I obviously know who you are and yada yada. Oh shit. I didn't mean to do that. Oh well, didn't change anything. Um, so just obviously, have you read through the man book? Obviously, no. Um, Class systems I will be talking about in detail when we get through the character sheet, but obviously, for my system, there is no like abilities that are required to get to any class. It's basically whichever organization you choose is your class. But I think it still would be nice based on the scores that you get. That would be the deciding factor for most of you guys. Obviously, how the quiz went and just anything else. So obviously not hard. There's still 4 more slots available. Um, so if you guys are interested, the form's still there. So then we get on to the character sheet. Now, the character sheet obviously is what you're going to be using um, most of the time when you're joining the game or doing anything about it. And again, I printed a sheet out myself to do ability scores here and saving throws, which you cannot just purely fill in on the Word doc I have here for you guys. Um, but obviously, you do also would want to think about your character, give like an interesting backstory if you can. I mean, it doesn't have to be insanely crazy, but at least some background information as to what you are and what your character is going to be like in the game, just overall. Um, so obviously, I'll do the ability scores and saving throws much later, but this is going to be the primary tool that you're going to use a lot is the handbook that I have personally written out. Um, so obviously the introduction is just me talking about my experiences with D&D, playing older editions, um, and trying to use 5th ed as like additional help for this particular game as well. Um, we'll get past these 2 things first since they're pretty much just charts that you just fill out basically, and it's just you roll a 20-sided die, and whatever die number that you roll is basically what you write down as the number, and then you just fill out the entire line in the chart. It's just as simple as that. For saving throws, uh, saving throws they'll change based on what level you guys are in the game, and they basically are essentially um, kind of essentially their saves against certain types of magic or poisons or anything like that. So it's an additional dodge roll that you make in case um, a specific type of action is being hit on you when you're getting attacked, basically. Um, but here's the big thing: movement, HP, and XP. So pretty much when you're filling out your sheet or whatever, um, obviously everybody's going to start off with 30 feet of movement, or basically just six spaces on the board, which is what I would normally do if I had my graph mats, which I do not, but obviously you can move. Obviously, you do move pretty quick. Um, so I kind of was generous with this. Then HP and XP are basically just dependent on level, and everyone for the most part is going to start off with a level 1 character, which, yeah, judging by what you see there, uh, basically you really can't get hit by anything. Um, but obviously you will level very quickly. I would say probably when you reach level 8 is when you really have a fair ground of health, and then that's kind of where leveling is slowed. But for the most part, you'll probably easily get through the first 7 levels with like no problem. Especially since I do give out exploration experience throughout the game, and that's basically how you level super fucking quick in the game itself. Is just through exploration. Period. So obviously, by the time you start like any kind of combat, you'll obviously be like maybe level 3 or level 2. Um, so you should be pretty okay there. Um, you will notice that also there is another health that is in percentage. That is for specifically. I have done HP for. There's 3 other different classes or 3 other different races that you can pick. Um, or the TVA kind of fucked that one up, so obviously you can get a glimpse on that organization there. Um, but that other the health that's in the percentage, um, that is in the brackets there, it's essentially for any kind of alien race that your player might pick, like the player that you guys will pick out, or if you're a devil or an angel in the game, you'll you'll obviously have much higher health than basically human health, which is basically most of the races in this game, unfortunately, are humans. So standard health and then specialized health is pretty much what I'm gonna call it. Um, and then spellcasters, obviously, you get 1 new spell per level, so it's not like it's fucking complicated or anything. Um, so there you go. All right, 2 of the biggest things, and this is probably why so many people are gonna get confused when they start working on this. Um, but I did implement a new system in called organizations, and basically organizations are places that you just essentially work at. You work at these places as a character, and you obviously have to have some ties with the business as your character. Now, I have several different organizations, and basically organizations, first of all, not only tell you exactly which universes I'm using for this campaign specifically, but organizations, they kind of let you know what your classes, like what optional classes are within that organization, your race, your alignment. Pretty much, organizations are basically how you make your character, in a sense. They have the most control of your character, is which organizations you pick. And organizations have, you get two different things from your organization. Um, the first is an organizational bonus, which could range from just a +1 or maybe a +2 stat, um, whenever you're doing anything like an action roll or an attack roll or anything like that. Um, or it could be a brand new fucking weapon you could use right away. Um, which is insanely cool on its own. Um, and obviously, when you go through your sheet, you're obviously going to want to write down that and the organizational bonus that you get so that I know specifically. Because some organizations do have multiple bonuses that you could choose to get. And basically they're all buffs. Essentially the organizational bonus is a buff. Is a starting buff that you all will essentially get. Um, so again, not half bad. Um, and I'll just use the Society of the Blind Eye. So yes, I'm using Gravity Falls in this campaign. If you don't notice, um, so you would obviously write down when you're writing down the organization Society of the Blind Eye. The bonus for the organization's the memory erase gun. If you've ever seen the show, so that's kind of obvious. Um, and then essentially from there, um, you pick the class out, and then there are these things that are italicized, and these are basically the one profession that you're going to get when you join the organization. And professions are basically, um, things that you could use within the game, also that are kind of like bonuses as well. Um, and basically, they're your professions. Professions are basically the same as proficiencies for normal games. It's just they gain an additional buff to them as well if you have them. These are interchangeable as well as along with the classes within each of the different organizations. So say you want to play a different class within the organization, then by all means, let me know when you're changing the class so I would know about it. However, the only downside when picking out an organization is that you cannot change the organization itself. You could change the organizational bonus you want, you could change the class you want, you could change which profession from within the specific classes that you want, um, but you cannot change the organization itself. You cannot switch out an organization. I might do it on the first day of the game just in case nobody likes their organization they're working at. Um, but for the most part, for any DM who's willing to run this kind of system, yeah, organizations are not changeable. Like the minute you're placed into an organization, that's where you're going to be staying the entire game. Um, so unless the only exception I would feel if you're changing an organization is if the organization in the following years of the timeline is absolutely fucking destroyed. That's the only way I could see anybody changing an organization, but for the most part, organizations don't change. as far as I'm concerned. Um, so I'll just quickly go through all the organizations, and you'll see all the options that you can pick out and everything like that. And basically, this is where most of the character customization comes into, is because of the organizations. So, there's Society of the Blind Eye, the Call of Bill, Cipher, and I even give descriptions, like, at the very beginning, like, um, background information on the organization, what the organization does, yada, yada, yada. Um, and then there's the alignments that you have to also pick out, too, from there. Um, so the ARC, or the Anomaly Research Center, the D Team, the Alpha Gang, Colonial Marines, Whaling Corp, Michael's faction, which is the Archangel Michael, um, Gremory Household. So there you go. There's some context on that. The Enigma Corporation, which I feel a lot of people who have been on my channel are going to totally pick this organization. Which, if you don't know, is the organization within Lost Tapes. If anybody does not know. Fazbear Entertainment, Afton Robotics, Monarch, InGen, Biosyn, uh, the Republic, and the Separatists. Yes, I put Clone Wars shit into this game. I know people are gonna get pissed, but it's okay. Stark Industries, the Avengers Initiative, the TVA, which is probably the most recent organization I've added into this game, and it's based on the show Loki. So if you have not seen Loki, I'd recommend you do watch it, in order to get a good understanding as to what the TVA are and what they do. But yeah, this is probably the newest organization I have added to D&D Earth, as far as I'm aware. As far as shows go, that is the newest I've added. Master of the Mystic Arts, PIM Technology. Like I said earlier, this could be one of the few organizations. If your player is not interested in, I mean, it does get destroyed this year, or the year at least that I'm starting, which is 2014. So if your player's not interested in PIM techs, then they can obviously switch. Team Rocket, Team Galactic, Team Magma, Team Agua, Team Plasma, the Silphus Corporation, which is basically the people who make the Pokeballs. Life Tree Foundation, Born Pokemon Inc., the Pokemon Guard, Chansey Primary Health. And then we get to the boring human shit, which I don't think anybody would try to join. But we'll see. I don't know. The UN, the FBI. I know I'll have somebody who wants to join the FBI.
FBI, open up!
Oh my god. The CDC, and obviously that's a big one from this year. USDA, which is more of an international Department of Agriculture. The IMC, and this is a big one for bards. So hey, all my bard players, if you're interested, join this one. I'm being serious, because there's an entire fucking list of good song buffs that they get to use, which the DM, if they like, can add more to this. It doesn't have to be all these songs specifically. Sistine Chapel, the Wada Tamarant Temple, which has changed a little bit, and the Guanji Natural Protective Services. So there's all that. Professions, like I said, are just basically proficiencies in this game. But obviously, the first one you pick out is from the organization that you choose, and then the other two, when you start out, um, can be found within here. And obviously, these are just generalized ones. And then for specific classes, there's other ones too. So I'm not going to go into that much detail. Um, then we get to the history of the D&D game. Now this is for my people who are like really into lores of the game, like they're really into the lore, and to see what changes I have made to fuck up Earth this badly with all the shit that's in this game. Yeah, Earth is kind of in a weird spot. So, keep in mind this is the base set of things I have done to change the world. Um, for all the universes that I've added in specifically, which you've already seen when looking through the organizations. Um, so there's two other big things here that I have done. First of all, um, basically North America. Essentially, yeah, the U.S. does not have Alaska anymore. That's basically all you need to know. All you need to know is Canada took Alaska from us when we made the trade deal. We had a little mini war and we fucking lost. So that's how that story goes. And then to Japan. Oh god. And this one, I'm still gonna have some people bitch about it and go, what the F have you done? And essentially the lore behind the whole thing is that I wanted to make Japan a superpower just because there is so much shit going on in Japan. There is so much shit. And I couldn't help it. I can't help it with a lot of the stuff that I did add in is mostly placed in Japan. It's a fucking pain in the ass. But yes, this is all Japan. So basically, all the Koreas are just non-existent. Russia has some bits taken from it. China still has some bits taken from it. And so yeah, Japan's a superpower in this game, essentially. And they got to keep some of the land from World War II because a certain giant lizard may have stomped through two cities in Japan, and then the UN, it was like, yeah, Japan, you can keep some of the land you took, uh, just to repair shit. And of course, they obviously got to keep some of the land, not all of it, but they get to keep some of it, of what they took from World War II. Just so that it made sense. I had an advisor with me, so it makes a little more sense. And then the bloody fucking timeline. So, again, obviously, for people who are nitpicky and really want to know all the main events within this campaign, feel free to just go through this and know it. Right? Feel free to just read through this, get an understanding of what things have happened within the timeline, and there you go. So again, you might also want to use the world events category within the handbook when making your character. And essentially, this is really about it. I mean, obviously, if you guys still want me to roll down scores and whatnot, I find the process to be very, very boring and, not fun. But obviously, you could fill everything out from there. armor pieces that are made. We'll discuss that like in the first meeting that I have for the live game. But obviously, if any of you guys have any questions, of course, leave it down in the comments down below. I am more than happy to answer questions for anybody who's confused about how they want to set up their characters. And obviously, from everything here, it should be pretty fucking simple. Um, because it has dumbed down to a point of simplicity that I'm pretty sure everybody can figure it out. Um, but in case there is issues, I will go through a few things. First of all, birth rank is basically okay. So essentially, let's say I have a brother and a sister, right? And I was the middle child for my character. So I would be 2 of 3 is basically what you would write down. That's basically what it is. Birth rank is essentially just what numbered child were you based on what your parents have said, and obviously when you put down siblings, you have 2 other siblings. Um, okay, then armor classes basically just depends on the armor pieces that you have, which is basically what type of armor that you have. So obviously you would write down the armor, and then the armor class would just be the number. Um, so again, very simple. Weapons, you would type down the weapon that you have, any damage adjustments that they have, that's based on whatever happens in the game. The damage output that they have, and the range in feet is basically what you have. And obviously, if you have melee weaponry, like a katana, for example, obviously you don't need to put anything down for ammo. You have nothing to put down for ammo. Again, professions I've already just explained, and there's a lot of slots for that. Gain experience. You put experience there. You put the amount of money that you get there, which starting money. And again, this is based on what country you guys would like to be at, or where you guys are at. But the currency I'm going to be using is $100 USD. So 100 US dollars is basically what I'm going to use for my system and my starting cash. Of course, obviously, items found within the game that you guys find, and any familiars that you obtain throughout your journey, obviously. And that's basically everything that you guys need to know. So if there is if there really are any questions, feel free to comment down below or let me know on Discord, which is obviously always at the description down below. You could even private message me on Twitter, which is again also in the description down below to what my Twitter account is. And I am free to answer any questions that you guys have. I may even do a Q&A video if you guys are still extremely confused by this. But obviously, I've simplified it enough to a point where I think most of you guys should be able to fill the sheet out. But again, like I said, any questions, feel free to comment down below. And that's really the end of the video, guys. And this is really how you set up the character. So, obviously, comment down below. Leave a like if you like the video, and subscribe to the channel for more additional shit such as this. And until next time, guys, I am the DM.